Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, providing more than 41,000 jobs in the production of wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details at choosewood.com.
From St. Louis Public Radio. This is St. Louis on the Air.
I'm Emily Woodbury. The floodwaters may be gone, but residents in the St. Louis region are still picking up the pieces after historic flooding in late July. This week, the Federal Emergency Management Agency canvassed areas that were hit hard by the extreme flooding. That includes University City, where residents have already spent as many as 8 hours waiting in line at aid centers. With a federal disaster designation in place, federal aid workers are now canvassing U-City neighborhoods to connect with people in need. And still, even with resources arriving, some residents say they've had to make do on their own as they wait for more news and help from the government.
Well, the first thing we lost were our 3 cars. They all floated down North Drive in Cavity. We couldn't evacuate because it started coming up between 3 and 4 in the morning. By the time we realized the first car that went down our block was sitting at the end of the block here, and it passed our house. Then the next minute we saw one of our cars go down. Then I saw my neighbor's 2 cars go down the street. They all floated. And most of our neighbors were just still asleep because I started calling around and waking people up. But at that time, it was just too late.
About 4:30, my neighbor called and told me my car was floating down the street. So I came out on the porch, and sure enough, all the cars that was parked over there were floating down there and kind of stackpiled. So my car was just floating, and another car floated between the tree and the lamppost, and then a dumpster from around the corner came and pinned it. So the car water went around my car, and then when it got flooded, it spent it around and set it right back down where I parked.
Then we experienced water damage to our finished basement. We were so busy watching the water outside, we didn't even realize it was in the basement at that time. Because it was so dark at night, we couldn't tell that it was that bad until it was a little later. And then by the time we could see everything, there was nothing we could do. We couldn't come out. We were just stranded, trapped in the house.
I heard a guy screaming for help down the street, and a neighbor across the street, he got over there, and the guy's son was trapped in the basement, and he bust through the floor, saved the kid. I've never been through anything like this. I didn't know how FEMA worked, how fast it worked, so I wanted to be here in case they did come, and by my family coming through, helping me clean up so fast, we'll be able to handle everything. They came through.
We need to do some repairs. So that's the main thing financially, and you need to replace items that we lost. The best thing we can do is just repair and just keep going.
University City residents Alfonso Chappelle and Laverne Williams-Lacey and FEMA spokesperson John Mills spoke with St. Louis Public Radio reporter Jeremy Goodwin this week. And Jeremy joins us now to talk about FEMA's role in this emergency response and what residents are still waiting for. Jeremy, welcome to the show.
Hi, Emily. Thanks for having me on.
So you talked with those folks. You accompanied a FEMA canvassing team in U-City this week. What did you witness? What were you hearing about what residents need help with?
Okay. Well, FEMA had distributed about 5 teams of about 5 people each in St. Louis County, and St. Charles County. I was there in University City. And as I say, it's about a team of 5 people. They're equipped with iPads, and they are going door to door, knocking on doors, just trying to find people who are still there. Now, of course, the trouble with canvassing for natural disaster survivors at the site of the natural disaster is the people who were most hard hit by that weren't there anymore. Of course, they've gone elsewhere because they can't live in those homes. But so in about an hour of knocking, I saw FEMA crews contact maybe a handful of people in that particular neighborhood in University City.
And we should mention that for those who need to get in touch with FEMA directly who weren't in their homes, you can apply for assistance online at disasterassistance.gov. That's disasterassistance.gov, or calling FEMA directly at 800-621-3362. FEMA spokesperson John Mills, who you spoke with, he said that FEMA has paid out more than $1.4 million to St. Louis flood survivors so far.
FEMA is working with everyone with serious damage on a case-by-case basis in support of the state. So we're going to locations at the direction of local emergency management and where we are recommended to go by St. Louis City, St. Louis County, and St. Charles County. So at the direction of local officials, we start in what they identify as the hardest hit areas and then spread out from there, going door to door.
Jeremy, what did you learn about what exactly, what type of aid FEMA is offering? What is that $1.4 million going towards?
Yeah, as you might expect, there's a lot of different technicalities and some red tape involved here. Depending on what your situation is, you may be eligible for different types of support. Mr. Chappelle, who we heard in that montage, is a renter. So he is someone who might be eligible for things like a stipend to help pay for rent at a different location or funding to replace possessions that were destroyed. Ms. Williams-Lacey, who we heard from, she's owned her home there for 40 years, and she might be eligible for different types of support as a homeowner.
And we should mention again that if you need help, if you need federal support, you can get in touch with FEMA directly, apply for assistance, go online to disasterassistance.gov, or call FEMA at 800-621-3362. That's 800-621-3362. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Emily.
You can follow Jeremy Goodwin's reporting on Twitter at Jeremy D. Goodwin and read more about his experience with a FEMA canvassing team at STLPR.org.
This episode was produced by Danny Wysentowski and Emily Woodbury.
Our audio engineer is Aaron Dorr. Our production intern is Avery Rogers. This podcast was mixed and edited by Aaron. Our executive producer is Alex Hoyer.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
Our podcast proudly supports St. Louis artists by using music from Life Creative Group.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations, and leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thank you.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.